I always say, we say it all the time, if you identify a guy you want, go ahead and overpay. Go ahead and overcommit. But when we say overcommit, pick a lane. Overcommit on the years, overcommit on the dollars. Don't do both.
The Bruins were 28th in goals scored last season. They needed to add at least one top six forward, probably two. They had money to spend, and they went into free agency, and they spent it. However, they did not really address scoring. They took Viktor Arvidsson from the Oilers. That's 1 year at $4 million. Then they go on a fourth line spree, and I guess I could call that a bottom six spree, but I'll call it a fourth line spree. They signed Tanner Jeannot from the Kings, 5 years times $3.4 million. A little comparison there. Tanner Jeannot got more money than Andrew Mangiapane did. Let's move on. They signed Sean Kuraly, old friend, 2 years times $1.85 million, and they signed Mikey Eyssimont, 2 years times $1.45 million. In doing all of this, and they also signed other guys. They signed Matej Blumel, the Czech forward who played in the AHL last year for Texas, is kind of a 4-8 type player. Maybe you hope that he can score at the NHL level. But anyway, they went and they spent a lot of money. They did really spend. They don't have a ton of cap space anymore. And I was reading something from Jonathan Willis on his Substack today, because that's right, I'm cool. Every now and then I will peruse the hockey Substacks. And Jonathan Willis posted something about the one thing the Florida Panthers do that other teams, to a degree, can kind of do themselves. A lot of it, you cannot have Sasha Barkov. He's already on the Florida Panthers. You cannot have Matthew Tkachuk. There's only one of them that exists. But one of the things that the Florida Panthers do that your team can try to do is sign your depth players to the veteran minimum. And if they want more than the veteran minimum, sign them for $1 more than the veteran minimum. Because that is basically what the Florida Panthers do. They just re-signed Tomas Nosek yesterday. You know what it was? It was 1 year times $775,000 or whatever the number is, $775K. And he noted what Nosek was when he got to Florida, what he did last year, and what raise he got. He got a $0 raise. He had a good year with Florida last year. Obviously, it was very big. Johnny the Joke Man will talk your ear off about what an impact he made in Game 3 against the Maple Leafs in the second round. And they didn't give him a raise. Meanwhile, you have the Bruins signing fourth liners to nearly $3.5 million contracts, nearly $2 million AAV contracts, nearly $1.5 million AAV contracts. And afterwards, I know I'm talking a lot here, afterwards, Don Sweeney talked about the juice and the competitiveness, and they're going to be hard to play against. I think Don Sweeney knows the Bruins stink, and they're not going to be good. So he didn't even try, seemingly, to get top six help. They added one. I told you they were 28th in goals scored. They added 10 goal scorer from last year. 10 goal scorer from last year among a million guys they signed.
Yeah, I mean, all the signings are not exciting. The Arvidsson trade, not exciting. The only one that I'm going to lose sleep over is the Tanner Jeannot signing. And it's just, that signing is so unnecessary and so fucking stupid. And like, that's not me saying Tanner Jeannot sucks or saying I don't want Tanner Jeannot on my team. Tanner Jeannot is a fit for the Bruins, and he's a useful bottom six player, but you do not need to give overterm and overpayment both at the same time to these bottom six fourth line profiled players. Tanner Jeannot scored 24 goals and 41 points in 2021-22 for the Nashville Predators, and he has been overvalued by 3 separate teams since then, and he has not delivered since then. Since then, in 3 seasons, he has a combined 20 goals and 25 assists. The Tampa Bay Lightning massively overvalued Tanner Jeannot. They traded a first-round pick, a second-round pick, a third-round pick, a fourth-round pick, and a fifth-round pick in one of the worst trades that we have seen in the last decade in the NHL. And then the Bruins go out. They give him 5 years, which is more than he should get, and they give him $3.5 million, $3.4 million per year, which is more than he should get. The AFP Analytics, who we always cite as the most accurate projection model for contracts in the NHL, projected that Tanner Jeannot would get 2 years at $1.4 million per year. So he gets 3 more years and $2 million more per year to come to the Boston Bruins. And I always say, we say it all the time, if you identify a guy you want, go ahead and overpay. Go ahead and overcommit. But when we say overcommit, pick a lane. Overcommit on the years, overcommit on the dollars. Don't do both, especially for a player who is going to be in your bottom 6, who profiles as a fourth liner. Those are replacement level guys. It is unbelievable that they keep fucking doing this. It's not an isolated incident for Don Sweeney and Cam Neely. They do it all the time, whether you want to make the commitment about, or the comparison to David Backes, whether you want to make the comparison to Matt Bolesky. They constantly overcommit to these bottom of the roster guys, and it doesn't kill you, but it makes you a worse team because it hampers things that you can do down the line.
Okay, they overpaid on term and the whole thing by 2.5. I did the math. 3.4 divided by 1.4 is 2.42. And 5 years versus 2 years, that is 2.5 times what he was projected to get. The fact that other teams have overpaid for him makes me think that he probably had offers that were kind of crazy like that. But what do we say when there's a crazy offer? Like, I remember saying this about the Bruins in 2015 when they reached for Zach Senyshyn, and they had intel that somebody was going to take him in the first round.
Let them take him. Yeah, right. Let somebody else make the mistake.
If you like a guy and you think that someone's going to reach for him crazily, do you like him more than everybody else? Because there are other things that you can do with that. And the fact that I would get this more if they signed him for this money at 3 years, because they figured, you know what? We're going to stink. We're not going to win a lot of games, but we need to give some sort of good product, and we need to make it so the young players that we have coming up learn how to play the game the right way and they don't hate their lives. But you think you're going to be like this for 5 years? And yeah, the cap's going up, so $3.4 million for Tanner Jeannot. Like, I'm sorry, I can't have this conversation 2 weeks in a row. We just had it with Trent Frederick, and that's still not a good contract. We have to have it again now with Tanner Jeannot. Guys, read the thing from Jonathan Willis, and people aren't going to enjoy it if they don't like to hear the TAX word, because part of why the Panthers obviously can pay guys the veteran minimum is because the veteran minimum there is a lot more than the veteran minimum somewhere else. But like, wouldn't it make sense to pay the worst players on your roster the lowest money you can pay them? Wouldn't it make sense? Like, has anybody worked for a company? The people at the top make the CEOs or whatever make millions of dollars, and then the people, I used to say it all the time in our field, that there was no such thing as like a $50,000 journalist. There was someone either making $100,000 or there was somebody making $20,000.
Yeah.
And that's not good, but that's just how that business could be. You can't pay your top guys $1 bajillion and pay your bottom guys $5.
Yeah. I mean, somebody in the chat says Saravalli reported that 13 teams were after Jeannot.
I believe it.
Great. Don't get into a bidding war for Tanner Jeannot.
Get into one for Brock Besser.
Right.
No problem
even
there.
That, like, I wouldn't love it, but like, he's a more impactful player than Tanner Jeannot. And I'm going to root for Tanner Jeannot. Like, I want Tanner Jeannot to be good. My problem with it is that they overcommitted, and Reclamation Projects should not be expensive. Reclamation projects should you taking a flyer or pick a lane. Like reclamation projects should not be expensive, and it's just they shouldn't come with this much risk. And that's my problem with it at the end of the day. And it's just, it annoys me that now Tanner Jeannot is going to be like this guy who everybody fucking hates because Don Sweeney or Cam Neely gave him a bad deal. And a lot of people are killing Don Sweeney for this. I really think that this is a Cam Neely thing because, again, it is a problem that keeps happening over and over with this front office. And Cam Neely has to sign off on these deals because he is Don Sweeney's boss. And if Don Sweeney had struck out on a few of these deals before and Cam Neely didn't like how they worked out, probably wouldn't sign off on this one. So I feel like it is a Cam Neely decision to keep going after these players. Maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like that's the case.
I mean, one of these two people was a undersized, puck-moving-ish defenseman, and one of them was a power forward. So who would you guess is saying, get me that guy who's going to drop the gloves if he needs to? You know what doesn't happen anymore? The gloves getting dropped. You know why we talked so much about the beginning of that USA-Canada Four Nations game? Because it was something that doesn't happen anymore. We got to see it, and it was very exciting.
And then, like, it happened in Four Nations. Who won Four Nations?
The team that didn't want to do that.
Yeah, the team that didn't go on the media tour afterwards because they got in the fights. Like, that's just...
But
it's an important element to have, and that's why I think that Tanner Jeannot is a useful player. I think that you do win that way by being nasty, but you win that way by not spending a ton of money on it and not overcommitting to it, and then also having the guys who score at the top of your lineup, and the Bruins just don't have those guys right now.
But this is still what I will say in defense of Don Sweeney is he knew that he wasn't signing anybody who scores goals. He knew that.
Why, though? Why did he know that? Why don't you go out and get a Nikolai Ehlers?
So, like, that's what I'm saying. Like, he could have done that, and he didn't. So, does that tell you that he doesn't think this team is good, or that this team shouldn't be trying to do what the Bruins of 5 years ago would have done, which is at some point, hey, you got to pay the piper, and they would say, no, we're going for it. No, we're going for it. This is an offseason in which they clearly are not going for it. It's weird to me that they're still spending. I don't know if maybe they want to not be criticized for spending to the cap, but they're
spending
not
the cap on one-year deals then.
Yes.
Like they're spending on multi-year deals, which, like, if they're tanking this year, if that's their goal, if they want to end up in the lottery for that Gavin McKenna lottery ticket, then go ahead and do that. Fill your roster spots with one-year deals on overpayments because you have the money to spend, and then reassess next year on what should be a better free agent class and spend that money again next year. But to give out a 5-year deal in 2 years to Sean Kuraly, 2 years to Mikey Eyssimont, like, this money is staying on your books.
I think that they are doing what you just said, which is they know that they are not going to make the playoffs. They were the second worst team in the Eastern Conference last year. They know they're not a playoff team. And it makes me wonder what's going to happen with some of these guys that they do have signed. Like, at the deadline, are they going to say, like, hey, does anyone want Elias Pettersson or Elias Lindholm or some of these guys that they do have signed for a while? Because this draft does have Gavin McKenna. It does have Ryan Robrick. It does have Keaton Verhoff. Like, this next year's draft is the one that supposedly is going to get you star players, and I think that it is risky business to just shoot for that because they kind of did that this year down the stretch, and they ended up with the 7th overall pick. But I think they are so much closer to getting a top 3 pick than they are to being a playoff team. But I just think, so I think that's what the strategy was. I think it was, we're not going to make the playoffs. Let's not sign anybody that it could age badly, and then we're going to be stuck with that. So if it's sign the one I can't excuse, obviously, is the Jeannot one.
Right. And, like, honestly, up to that point, kind of liked what Don Sweeney was doing. Like, the low-risk flyer on Viktor Arvidsson who could help you. Like, he's not going to shilt shift the balance of your top six, but he's a player that you can plug into your top six and see in improved results.
See if he scores goals, and then
Right.
you can trade him at the deadline,
Right.
and then you gave up a 2027 fifth-round pick to get a 2026 second-round pick or something like that.
Right. And the rest of the deals are just like they're survivable. But again, the one that you can't excuse is Tanner Jeannot. And I'm just exhausted.
We all silly like the mayor.